Hello and welcome to Anime Recapped. Today we'll be covering episode 5 to 8 of the anime Sword Art Online. This is the second of 6 parts. Lay back and enjoy the recap. After a few days, while lying down in the shade of a tree, Kirito is approached by Asuna, who asks her why he is lying there when all the guilds are eagerly working to clear this floor. Kirito informs her that he is exhausted from doing this and needs to rest. He invites Asuna to join him in lying down, and she agrees. They both sleep and wake up in the evening. They then go to a restaurant for dinner. While eating, they hear a noise, and when they go outside, they discover that a knight has been stabbed with a sword. Before Asuna can approach him, he dies and disappears. They are both stunned at how someone can kill a player in a safe zone. Kirito notices everyone's symbols nearby and assures Asuna that none of them murdered him. Asuna asks him how he died since no one in the area killed him. Meanwhile, they are approached by a purple-haired, beautiful teen girl named Yoko, who informs them that the person who died is her friend Kane's. Kirito asks if she suspects anyone in the death of Kane's, to which she says that she does not know anyone else but Kane's. Kirito and Asuna then safely transfer her to her residence. Following this, they both go to a merchant named Agile and tell him the entire story. He, too, is perplexed as to how any player can be murdered in a safe zone. Kirito then shows him the sword that was used to murder Kane's. After seeing the sword, Agile informs Kirito that it was crafted by Grimlock. The following day, they both visited Yoko for more information. They ask her if she knows Grimlock and inform her that he manufactured the sword that was used to slay Kane's. She informs them that Grimlock was a member of their guild, Golden Apple, in the past. She continues by telling them that 6 months ago, their guild was granted a rare ring that could raise anyone's level. However, because the guild had achieved this as a team, the guild head, Griselda, said she couldn't allow just one person to use it, so they planned to sell it. However, Griselda was killed on her way to the market, and the ring was lost along the way. In the end, she discloses to them that Grimlock is Griselda's husband. Kirito informs her that the person who murdered Griselda was well aware of the ring. They then proceed to Smith's house, who is also a former member of the Golden Apple Guild. Yoko tells him everything and claims that she believes this is Griselda's ghost exacting retribution on them. Then she sits at the window, and someone from outside pokes her with a knife. As a result, Yoko falls and dies. Kirito runs outside to apprehend the murderer, but the murderer uses a teleport crystal and vanishes. Smith begins to think that it is Griselda's ghost who is doing all of this and will kill him as well. While having a burger with Asuna at night, Kirito informs her that he is certain the person wasn't a ghost because ghosts never utilize teleporting crystals. Meanwhile, his burger falls to the ground, and he bends to pick it up. Then he shouts joyfully that he now understands everything that is happening. The scene then switches to Smith at Griselda's cave, apologizing for his misconduct. 2 players in hooded cloaks approach him there. He mistook them for ghosts and confessed to stealing the ring from Griselda's room after receiving a message that he had to take the ring to the guild bank, but his intentions were not to murder anyone. The 2 players then take off their gowns, revealing their faces to Smith, who is astonished to see that they are Kane's and Yoko. Yoko informs him that everything he said has been recorded. The scene ends here and returns to Kirito and Asuna. Kirito informs her that both Yoko and Kane's are still alive. Kane's impaled his armor himself, and when the armor's durability ran out, he utilized his teleport crystal and vanished from there. He goes on to say that in Yoko's case, she already had the knife stuck in her back, and the murderer he was looking for was Yoko herself. Back to Yoko, Smith, and Kane's, the player killing guild strikes them and paralyzes Smith. When they are about to kill him completely, Kirito and Asuna appear. Seeing a 78 level player, the player killers fled from there. Yoko apologizes to Kirito and tells him that she decided to divulge everything to him after becoming satisfied. Kirito asks if they asked Grimlock to make those 2 weapons, to which they admit. Kirito explains that if 2 players marry in the game and one of them dies, the deceased player's inventory is granted to his or her better half. He goes on to say that this indicates Grimlock knew the policy and murdered Griselda. Kane's informs him that if he had murdered her, he would have a red symbol, which he does not have. Kirito responds that Grimlock did not kill Griselda directly but rather hired any red symbol player who did, and Grimlock received the ring. Meanwhile, Asuna informs Kirito of Grimlock's abduction. Grimlock admits that he is responsible for Griselda's murder and that he did it to complete the game as quickly as possible by increasing his level using that ring. After hearing this, the 3 former Golden Apple Guild members take him into custody and leave the area while dragging him along. The next day, Asuna visits a weapon shop and meets the proprietor, Lise. She hands Lise her sword and instructs her to sharpen it. She questions Asuna about why she hasn't gone with her guild to clear the floor, to which she responds that she has a meeting in the evening. Just as Asuna exits Lise's shop, Kirito walks in and tells Lise that he wants a specific kind of sword. Lise gives him a rare and powerful sword, but Kirito dislikes it. She tells Kirito that it is one of the most lethal swords in the game. Kirito chooses to test the sword, but she tells him not to since it could destroy his own sword. Before Kirito can hear her, he smashes the sword with his sword, but the so-called rare sword breaks down. Lise starts yelling at him for breaking the sword. Kirito apologizes and informs her that he wants the most powerful weapon. Lise informs him that the sword he desires can only be made with a rare metal found on the 55th floor. She goes on to say that an ice dragon guards the rare metal, and it is extremely difficult for anyone to overcome the dragon and obtain the metal. Kirito informs her that he can defeat the dragon for the metal, and they both proceed to the 55th floor. They eventually found the dragon there. The dragon uses his icy breath strike to hit Kirito, but Kirito is able to dodge it and wound the dragon. The dragon detects Lise and uses its air blast ability to strike her, causing her to stumble and fall into a large pit. Kirito lunges over to save her, and the two of them tumble into the deep trench. They attempt to utilize their teleporting crystal, but it does not function, so they opt to spend the night inside. The next morning, while excavating in the pit, Kirito discovers the rare metal and realizes that this isn't just any old ditch but the dragon's shrine. Meanwhile, the dragon strikes them, but Kirito deflects its blow, and they both jump over it, and by doing so, they manage to exit from there. They then return to Lise's shop, where she crafts a sword for Kirito out of that rare metal. She hands him his new weapon and informs him that it is called Dark Repulsor, and in her opinion, it is now the game's deadliest sword. Meanwhile, Asuna arrives there. Kirito informs Lise that they are buddies and members of the clearing group. Lise informs Asuna about Kirito breaking her sword. She then exits her store, leaving Asuna and Kirito inside. When she does not return for a significant amount of time, Kirito begins looking for her and eventually finds her sitting forlornly at the river bank. She informs Kirito that she is fed up with this virtual world and wishes to return to reality. Kirito reassures her that they will soon be out of this game. Lise praises Kirito's sword abilities and wishes him luck in finishing the game soon. The following morning, Kirito goes hunting in the wild for a rare S-rank rabbit. He shows it to Agile, who is astounded to see this bunny. Kirito informs him that he wants to have it prepared by an experienced chef. Meanwhile, Asuna makes her way there. Kirito inquires about her cooking ability level, to which she responds that she has reached her maximum. Kirito requests that she cook the rabbit, to which she agrees, and they decide to cook it at her home. Asuna's guard, Kuradil, tells her not to take Kirito to her house because he is a beater, but she orders him to stay quiet, and they both head to her house. They eat the rabbit there, and Kirito compliments her cooking skills. As Kirito is still playing the game alone, she extends an invitation to her party. Recognizing that he will not be able to clear all of the floors on his own, he accepts her invitation, and the charming duo reforms. While they are wandering around enjoying the day, Kuradil approaches and forces Asuna to accompany him back to the guild headquarters. As a result of his arrogant behavior toward Asuna, Kirito issues a warning to him. Kuradil becomes infuriated and dares Kirito to a duel to keep Asuna. Kirito takes up the challenge, and the duel begins. Kirito breaks Kuradil's weapon with just one strike from his sword, winning the duel. As the vice commander of her guild, Asuna relieves Kuradil of his guard duties and apologizes to Kirito for having to deal with such guild members. Kirito assures her that it is not her fault and that almost every guild has a player like this one. They both then proceed to the next floor. The fantastic duo slaughtered every monster in their path as if they were nothing. Kirito is pleased to see Asuna's fighting abilities. They eventually make it to the boss's room. Asuna is keen to kill the boss and clear the floor, but Kirito calms her down by telling her not to take any boss lightly. They decide to simply look at the boss's weaponry. When they open the door, they are horrified to discover a blue-eyed demon.